Hi, I'm Tara and welcome to another Crafting with Curly Cues video. Tonight is a close to my heart edition and I'm going to be doing some gold embossing and coloring with my brand new Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. So I started with this awesome die set from Mama Elephant. It's the basic set and it's one that I had wanted forever and I just got, so I'm super stoked. It's got this stitched rectangle and then this really cute little scallopy frame, and then you can see in there a whole bunch of little embellishments to add to your projects. So I've used that to cut a piece of watercolor paper in that scallop frame, and then I cut the stitched frame out of a piece of craft cardstock as well as some Inka-Dinka-Doo stamping mask paper. And then I just have a craft card base that I'm going to be using later. So first what I'm going to do is, this is the Lifting Spirit stamp set close to my heart, and this is the In the Background stamp set. So these are the two stamp sets I'm going to use to create this card. And I am going to create a gold kind of filigree background for the front of this card base, and gold foiling and such is like really hot right now, and I really want a Heidi Swapp Mink machine, but I don't have one and I'm trying not to spend money, so I thought I'd create my own gold foily look. So that's what I'm going to do here with some heat embossing. So I'm taking this background stamp set and my Versamark ink, and I'm just going to ink this up. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this on this craft cardstock 3 separate times. And I do all my stamping before I add my embossing powder because there's enough of a difference when it gets wet with that Versamark ink that I can see where I'm stamping. Plus, this whole background stamp is kind of distressy looking, so it's not a huge deal if I don't stamp it, line it up exactly perfectly. So I love the look of gold on craft cardstock. There's just something about it that just makes me happy. I love it. So you can see now I've got my powder on there, and I did use some Gold Recollections powder. And then I'm going to heat set this, and it looks really cool. I put the whole thing on camera just because I like to watch it over and over. Watch as it melts. It looks so pretty. I just can't even handle it. So now I'm just going to melt that whole thing, and then I have this really kind of super elegant filigree gold background that I got to do without having a gold foiling machine, which eventually I still will probably need. But anyway, now I have these We Are Memory Keeper circle dies, and I'm going to use one to create kind of a circle to create some background on my card. So I'm going to take that stamping mask paper by Inka-Dinka-Doo and put it right behind, and then I ran this whole sandwich through my Big Shot all at the same time. And that made the mask the exact same configuration as my card front. So I'm going to put the mask on that piece of watercolor paper that I cut that scallopy border edge around. I love this scallopy die because it just kind of adds flair to every card layout, and I'm really bad at layouts. I like to color, but figuring out what to do with all my stuff on my card is always my biggest challenge. So I love these dies that make it completely a no-brainer to just have something gorgeous and easy to do. So now I'm taking some Distress inks and I'm creating a little bit of sky peeking out in this circle. So I'm starting with Stormy Sky, and then I'm putting some chipped sapphire down at the bottom. You can see there that I used some Post-it tape. I discovered that I was going over the side of my mask. But anyway, I decided that I also needed some Salty Ocean to kind of brighten it up a little bit. The Stormy Sky chipped sapphire combo was a little too depressing for my taste, so I brought in that Salty Ocean to just add a little bit of bright blue. And then when I peel off that mask, I have this perfect little circle of sky. That little trick I'm doing there is just touching my finger to my baby wipe and taking the moisture and kind of wiping it off. The places where that Distress ink went over my die, because it is water-based, I was able to just wipe it right off. So now I'm taking that Lifting Spirit stamp set, and I stamped a bunch of those images in Versamark ink, and I'm just going to go ahead and cover the whole thing with that same gold embossing powder. And I'm just keeping the consistent gold schmancy look throughout the card. You could absolutely do this in black ink as well, but I just kind of liked the consistency of having everything in gold. I'm using my dry paintbrush to brush away some of my embossing powder because I never remember to use my powder bag first, so I have got to get better at that. So here I'm adding my sentiment into the middle of that banner that comes in the stamp set. And then this is an Emboss It pen by Ranger, and there was a spot that I didn't feel like the embossing got really well on that banner, and I just drew that in with that emboss pen, and then I can sprinkle some of that embossing powder over the top and fix that little error I made there. So now I'm taking this beautiful, gorgeous set of Zig Clean Color markers. I'm so excited. They weren't even supposed to come in the mail until like the 21st of this month, and they came almost a whole month early. So I like freaked out when I got the text from my husband that said, "Your markers have arrived." I was like, I'm gonna need to take a sick day to go home and color. Anyway, I love these things. So this is watercolor paper that I stamped all this on, and I'm just taking a blue for the clouds, putting a little bit of color down at the bottom, and then I've got my water brush there, and I'm just going to pull that color out into the clouds. I want the clouds to have just a really subtle color, but I didn't want them to be just flat white when everything else is going to be colored. So because these markers are basically watercolor paint in a tube, they're amazing with an actual brush tip. I mean, it's really cool. It makes being like fancy artist super easy. I'll show you some great blending later when I color the hot air balloon. You're able to just use your water brush and pull that out. So I colored all the clouds the same, and then I heat set that with my heat tool. And so now I'm going to go ahead and put some color on the hot air balloon. And I really wanted to show you guys how you can take two colors that aren't even next to each other and just blend them together. So like when you're doing Copics, for me anyway, I tend to take things in the same color family because I'm not super great at blending all the different shades together. And these, you don't even have to worry about it. You just put down your color and then you take that other color. So I'm starting with this red, and then I'm going to take that yellow and I'm going to be able to blend that directly into orange. And I'm going to zoom in here in a second so that you guys can see as this blends together how easy this is to just look like a professional artist. So I'm just going to color right over that red and just pull it out, and it just fades in this beautiful ombre from red to orange to yellow. And I don't even have to do anything other than color. It's pretty fabulous. So now I'm going to do the same thing with some green and some blue so you can watch again kind of how this works here. So I put my green down first, and then I'm just going to take this blue and color over the top and just pull it up. And then you get this nice green at the bottom with kind of a teal blend where they overlap, and then it's blue again by the time you get to the top. I love it. And then after you're done, I just kind of scribble my marker on a separate sheet of paper to get the other color out of it. And it doesn't hurt the tips at all because they are made of real brush. So nothing is staining, nothing is permanent. It's just a really, really cool markers. And I haven't even used mine as like watercolor yet, where I actually just paint with water for most of it. I mean, a little bit like with the clouds, but mostly they just blend together so well on their own. I don't even need to go back with my water. So far I am very pleased. I'm also really glad that I got the 60 set just because I know myself and I would have not been satisfied with anything less than the biggest possible set. So I probably would have spent more money in the long run by starting small and then deciding that I had to have the big one. So you certainly don't need this large set to start. I've seen the colors that come in the 12 pack, and I think with the way that they blend so beautifully, you would have more than enough selection to really do some beautiful coloring with some of the smaller sets. And they're really fairly affordable especially when compared with other coloring mediums like Copic markers. So I'm just continuing to color this hot air balloon, and I'm taking some browns now and coloring in that basket. And these, I just kind of picked some random browns. I didn't even really test any of these first. I'm just trusting that these markers blend so well that it doesn't matter what color I pick up. And sure enough, they proved me right. So that makes me happy. And now I'm going to color the banner, and I'm going to do the same red and yellow technique. And this looks really cool because it's a larger space, so you'll get to see how they blend with more area here. And the embossing is really cool with these too because they are water-based. I mean, it just resists, and I get to just color right over the top of that sentiment. I don't have to worry about, smudging anything or anything like that. And it keeps my ink where I want it. In the embossing, it creates little dips and valleys where the ink can't escape. So even if it gets a little more wet than I want it to, the ink doesn't go anywhere. So it's awesome. So watch this. Color over the red, pull it out into that orange, and blend it out into that bright sunshiny yellow. I am loving this. I could seriously just sit and blend these markers all day. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm not like excited or anything. I just continue to repeat how ecstatic I am about these markers. But anyway, I know they're all the rage right now and like every video has them, but this is why, because they're phenomenal. So now I'm just going to take all these images that I colored and go ahead and fussy cut them out. I'm leaving a little bit of a white border, and that's mostly because I would never have been able to cut out that air balloon right up to the line. So I'm using my scissors here, and then I'm going to take my craft knife to that hot air balloon, and I'm actually going to cut out all those little middle sections so that you can see through it, because those are all just like ropes hanging down there. And so, you know, in theory, you'd be able to see through the ropes. So I wanted to kind of keep that illusion alive here. So I'm using my craft knife to go ahead and cut out all these little pieces. And then I just fussy cut everything else out. So now I'm going to start assembling my card, and I'm going to use my ATG to put some adhesive on the back of that watercolor frilly panel. And the only reason I used watercolor for this was because I feel like Distress inks, I can get them to blend way better on watercolor than I can on regular cardstock. So you could absolutely use regular cardstock for that background piece as well. And now I'm just taking all these clouds and all these pieces that I cut out and trying to figure out where I want them on the card. And I on purpose stamped and colored a lot more clouds than I figured I would need, because I just wanted to be able to have the ability to put whatever I wanted on the card there. And I did end up using almost all of them. I think I only had one left over when I was done. So I was glad I did some extras there. But and then I just used my Zig glue pen, and I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of those clouds and stick them all down. It did take a little bit of time for me to hold them down because it's watercolor paper that all these pieces are cut out of. It's way thicker, and it just, you know, it didn't want to grip as quickly as some of the thinner cardstocks. Not to mention the fact that that whole front piece is heat embossed, so it's kind of slicker than the average cardstock there. So I'm just going to take my my adhesives and glue everything down and trim off the excess of that cloud there from the back so that it's nice and straight against the edge. And then I'm going to take some of my Scotch foam tape and line the whole back of this front panel. So we're going to give it a little bit of dimension. I'm showing you there. Those are my close to my heart Teflon non-stick scissors, and they're pretty rockin' for cutting adhesives. I don't get any sticky gooey gunk on my scissors that then transfers to all my other stuff. So I do like those scissors a lot. So now I'm going to go ahead and stick that front panel on the front, and that's popped up with a little bit of dimension there. So now it's just this really pretty gold, like serene area, and then this sky that I don't think I intended to be a night sky, but the way that it kind of worked out, it ended up being a night sky, which I think is nice because there's something excessively romantic about hot air ballooning at night. So apparently this is a romantic card. I don't know. But so there's that cloud that I went ahead and put some Scotch foam tape on the back so that it's even with the background, and then Zig glue pen on the rest so that it would adhere there to the front. Now I'm putting that Zig glue pen all over the back of these little tiny thin pieces on this hot air balloon. Just going to squish that down. And then I'm just going to continue to arrange those clouds on there, and I just have a few more that I want to pop on. I'm using my acrylic block to add a little bit of weight on top of that hot air balloon and some of these pieces as I glue them down, and that just gives it a little bit of pressure as it dries so that it is able to stick really well on there. So the banner's going to be popped up a little bit here, and you can see that I'm gonna adhere it, and then I'm going to peel it all up, and I'm going to move it. And that's the nice thing about using liquid adhesive, which, to be honest, I don't do as often. I typically go for my tape runner, my ATG. But for whatever reason, I chose liquid adhesive on this card, and it worked out because I ended up not liking. I felt like everything was too left loaded on this card, like the hot air balloon and the sentiment, like everything was on that side. So I wanted to go ahead and shift that banner over a little bit and give the card a little bit more of a, a diagonal design, I guess. It's aesthetically pleasing in the end. There's a fancy word for you. It's aesthetically pleasing. But that's all I did there, and it's, it just goes to show you that you can always peel stuff up and start over and get it right the way you want it, and there's no right or wrong in crafting, which is part of what appeals to me about crafting. So there's that big fluffy cloud there that I didn't end up using. I thought about sticking them on there and trimming them off, but I didn't end up liking that. And I just was like, there's something missing. I just need something more. And I kept staring at it, and then I found this little cloud up at the top that had snuck away, and I didn't see it there. And it just ended up being the exact perfect addition that I needed to make the front of this card complete in my mind. So I stuck that bad boy on there. And then I did take some gold stickles and I added some stars because apparently this is a night sky, as we decided. So you can see how beautiful, shimmery, shiny all that gold on there is. And that watercolor painting with the zig markers just gives it a nice, whimsical, artsy look, and I really just love the way that this card turned out. So if you like this video, please go ahead, give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe. I've got plenty more videos to come. You can find all the supplies listed on my blog over at curlycues.blogspot.com. I am on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. And here I've linked to a couple more videos for you. The one's got some really fun gold embossing, and then I have my first Close to My Heart edition here for you. So if you like this, you should check those out. And thanks for joining me. Bye.